bass guitar rebuild continues, and today it starts off with a trip to the local big box hardware store. I have a lot of spare parts on hand, but I don't have the lumber that I need, so I'm going to get a piece of poplar. It's a little denser than pine, and I've used it to make guitars before, and this size strip only costs $10. It should be more than enough for what I need. Finding the straight piece is the key. I'm also going to pick up some paint since I'm here, and lacquer is a fairly traditional finish for guitar bodies. Arriving back at the house, before we head out back to do some cutting, let's take care of this neck. First things first, we need to strip off all of the hardware, and then we'll give it a good clean. These tuners aren't great, but they're not horrible, so we're going to take them off and see if we can use them in the final build. I want to keep this as low cost as possible until I feel like it's really worth upgrading things, and then we can go ahead and get some new tuners. But for now, we'll take them off and scrub down that neck. You can see some of the grimy buildup on the frets, and there's nothing I hate more than mashing my fingers into someone else's grimy buildup. Nasty finger oils. So I'm using some Murphy's and a toothbrush. It's a nice solvent for the wood on the fretboard without being caustic at all. So just give it a good scrub and then wipe it down. I've used this on my guitars before and it seems to work great. Next, before we start cutting wood, we want to cut some paper and try to outline what we think a general idea of the design will be. I find it really helpful to just sketch out and see with my own eyes what I'm going to be building. So I've got an old paper bag and I've made an outline of the existing body. We'll just darken that up a little bit so we can see it more clearly. And to help make things even more real, I want to make sure I know where all the hardware is going to be. I don't want to accidentally cut off an important part in my zeal for an interesting design. And now, never try to think on an empty stomach, and the wife had some thoughts too. The initial design that I sketched out was a little bit more angular. I think I was inspired by the existing rectangle. So here we go. I'm gonna see what this design would look like on the piece that I have, and then take some measurements to make sure that I know what exactly I'm gonna be cutting when I'm going ahead and making the parts to add on to this body. Measurements finished, and now out to the shop. We're going to start off with a table saw because, well, when you have a table saw, all problems look like a nail that you cut with a table saw, or something like that. Anyway, making sure that the 90 degrees is actually 90 degrees, trust but verify, and you'll notice that the first cut is not measured, it's just done because I don't have any more room in the small space that I have. And fortunately, those two shelving pieces are just high enough to fit the body. So we'll go ahead and cut to length the two sizes that I need to add to the sides. I'm just gonna go ahead and make a big old square or a big old rectangle. Well, probably more like a big old parallelogram, but or a rhombus? Something. I'm gonna glue it all together. So we're gonna set up the fence for the table saw, set the height for the body, and I just want to trim the sides off of the body to make sure that I'm gluing on to as straight a piece as possible. I don't have a proper fence. I have some other videos about this. My fence rebuild got stalled, so clamping works for now. And unfortunately, the camera overheated, so there's no footage of me cutting the body. But it's time to glue. I'm spreading the glue out as evenly as I can with my fingers and clamping it down. If I was being really precise, I would have let this sit overnight, but I don't have the time for that, so we're just going to go ahead and put it all together at once. Fortunately, I have enough clamps to take care of this. We're going to get the first side of the body clamped. We let it sit for a couple minutes, loosen those up so that it's still sticking, and add the other piece. Getting it straight is a little fidgety, but we're going to sand this thing down quite a bit so it doesn't have to be exact. And now that it's all clamped up, we'll have to let it sit overnight. So that's where we're going to leave the project for today. If you'd like to see how this base turns out, please subscribe to my channel, and I will have an update soon. Thanks for watching.